This one's wife. Mocked again. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Narcissists hate being mocked. Whilst there is the provision of fuel, it is challenge fuel because it threatens the narcissist's need for control. And narcissists invariably take themselves seriously. This one's wife does. She believes that she is a serious person, philanthropist, charitable overlady, individual that is kind, empathic, a thought leader, speech maker, content creator, that she is a serious individual who ought to be taken seriously by many people. She also lacks a sense of humour. There's no self-deprecation when it comes to this one's wife. She completely lacks the ability to laugh at herself. And if she ever would be seen to be doing so, and it's not something that she's known for, it would be done through gritted teeth, and you would certainly see in her eyes that there was no laughter there. We know that this one's wife is regularly mocked by people commenting on social media, aspects of the mainstream media. Certainly comedy skits have been done, and those are across both mainstream and social media, and increasingly so, as more and more people realise that Harry and this one's wife are a pair of clowns, and there is so much material that can be utilised with regard to taking the piss out of them. Probably the most memorable instance of piss-taking came courtesy of South Park, which left the Sussexes far from happy. Family Guy has had a pop at them in the past, and they're at it again. As reported by Bree Stimson for New York Post, Family Guy is at it again. The animated show mocked Prince Harry and this one's wife a second time in its most recent episode, 2 years after it first took a jab at the royal couple. In the recent episode Twain's World, in which characters Brian and Stewie, both voiced by creator Seth MacFarlane, travel back in time, the talking dog compares the couple to some of history's worst events. After Stewie warns Brian that taking a certain action while travelling through the past could change the course of history, Brian answers, "You always say that, but doesn't history pretty much suck?" Then, using the comedy rule of threes, he mentions Hitler and the Crusades before Stewie quips, "Prince Harry marrying this one's wife?" In the next moment, the show cuts to one of its signature cutaway gags, with Harry sitting on a couch, watching the episode. "Again?" he complains of the joke, before turning towards the camera with his hands on his hips to say, "Oh, like all of your wives are so much better." Family Guy, which is known for not pulling punches when it comes to its pop culture digs, first took aim at the Sussexes in 2023. In that episode, main character Peter Griffin, also voiced by MacFarlane, sits in a bar with friends pondering how to get back money he's owed when he jokes that he'll go it alone, just like this one's wife and Prince Harry. The scene then cuts to cartoon versions of Harry and this one's wife sat poolside as a butler approaches with an envelope. The butler says, "Sir, your millions from Netflix for no one knows what." Prince Harry waves him away, saying, "Put it with the rest of them." This one's wife then gets a notification on her phone and declares, "Babe, time to do our daily $250,000 sponsored Instagram post for Del Taco." The animated prince sighs and says, "I shouldn't have left the made-up nonsense." South Park is also mentioned in the article and goes into detail. Accordingly, the triple impact flows throughout this article. You may not be familiar with this, but for some reason, people don't know why. Human beings are programmed to pick up on things in threes more than anything else. This is why triple alliteration is particularly important if you're making a speech. For instance, it has been proven through research that if someone were to say big bombs, double alliteration, or big bouncing bombs, people take more notice and have greater recognition and recall of the speech that contained the triple alliteration. I've spoken about how triple reinforcement is hugely important with regard to controlling your emotional thinking and getting the narcissist out of your head. If you'd like to understand more about that, please do go to the Knowledge Vault and obtain how to tackle emotional thinking, the final battle. You'll find it extremely useful. And triple alliteration, or rather triple reinforcement, is utilised there. Here, not only did Family Guy use the comedy law of threes, triple reinforcement, but also the New York Post does, by finding 3 instances by which Harry and this one's wife are mocked. And the most recent being in respect of the suggestion that this one's wife is a difficult wife. This naturally is not something that she would just laugh off with good nature, because she takes herself far too seriously. They are individuals that are easy to lampoon, but when it happens, it's challenge fuel for this one's wife. It's a threat to control, and she doesn't like it. She isn't able to respond directly towards the originators of the lampoonery and mockery, and therefore she will undoubtedly complain to whoever else will listen about it, and therefore assert control indirectly by saying they don't know what they're talking about, they don't know me, this is typical, this was caused by the royal family, this is caused by racist haters, rinse and repeat, the same old explanations and excuses given, because she's completely unable, as a consequence of her narcissism, to recognise that she is the problem. She is also affected not only by the joke itself, but its amplifications, by virtue of the fact that there are millions of people who now relish her upset by virtue of her having the piss taken out of them. Members of the public may not have actually seen the episode, but the fact that it's picked up on by a major news outlet and amplified is demonstrative of the difficulty that this one's wife always has. There are plenty of instances whereby South Park and Family Guy mock famous people, but they don't get reported on. Therefore, you don't have the same amplification effect. But that's the case with this one's wife, and the reason being is not only is there a wealth of material to mock her in relation to, but she is so disliked by editors, reporters, and members of the public that those editors and reporters know will be interested in hearing about the mockery, that they repeatedly amplify for it. They didn't decide to choose to criticise this one's wife arbitrarily or capriciously. They simply did so because they know, as a consequence of her own behaviours, that there's a whole host of people that don't like her. She made a rod for her own back. She can't see this, of course. Her narcissism won't allow her to do so. But this amplification effect wouldn't take place if she was a likeable individual, because the news outlets would know that people wouldn't be interested in such mockery being expanded on. But the fact is, she will know about this because she can't help but look up herself on the internet. She will find that she's been criticised and mocked again, and it's mainly directed at her for being a terrible wife rather than Harry. And in the circumstances, this poses yet another problem for her. It shows the readiness of the media to amplify the fact that she's mocked. It shows that people will still mock her, and it shows that there is an audience out there that delights in her being mocked. She's not ever going to be able to turn around her lack of popularity. Not that she'll ever realise this. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.